Let's just describe a clean audit. What is a clean audit?
It's basically a rating that points to a department or an institution that has got a fair presentation of its information, financial results, and has got the accounting and reporting controls adequate enough to sustain that rating. That's what a clean audit is.
Yeah, and government departments are struggling to do that, to present a fair presentation of the management of their finances.
What this implies is those that have may have achieved, for instance, 55% have achieved that, but most of them have achieved that after an extensive correction during the time of the audit, and that's why they have not been given the upper rating of those that have done that on their own account, on their own effort. Yeah.
What are the areas of difficulty that you identify?
There's basically three dimensions of these issues. One is the extent to which financial records are accurately presented and fairly presented, and the controls around that are good.
Okay, so
the other
just
one,
on that point, the financial records are there, but they are not honestly presented. You doubt the credibility of the information that is presented.
Yes, indeed. The word you're using is the perfect word, credibility, and which requires that they must be checked for accuracy and credibility on an ongoing basis, daily, monthly, quarterly, etc., etc. The other element of that relates to service delivery information. To what extent is it also presented in a manner that is consistent with the guidelines that Treasury has provided? The other one is an area of compliance with laws and regulations.
PFMA, MFMA, those kinds of things.
Indeed, yes.
Yeah. So just go back to the first point. I mean, within the departments, within government institutions, with budgeting and all of those processes, surely there's provision for internal audit and those kinds of processes. So their systems fail, and then even the oversight functions of internal audit that are intended to protect the institution and to ensure credibility and so on, those fail as well.
Our preference, in fact, is that the first line of responsibility must do its functions and tasks with greater precision. That is the supervisory systems of government itself, from CFOs to accounting officers, to even ministers for that matter, and equivalent in other spheres of government and structures of government. Once that's done, we can also have the collaborative ministries that are there to provide another layer of supervision to these institutions like the treasuries, the public service administration, ministries, the govts in the case of local government, and the presidency for that matter. You can also add the structures and the stakeholders that you made reference to, like the audit committees, internal auditors, and eventually the external auditors like ourselves should be basically at the end of the queue in terms of picking up any errors, as well as the parliamentary committees.
Yeah.
So that's the recommendation that we're making, to make that structure of governance to be rather watertight and efficient and functional if we're to have sustainability in these results.
Yeah. Just looking at government departments that are doing well, give us an example and tell us what do they do that when you get there you find all of the elements that you're looking for are functioning in a way that is exemplary, as it were.
Amazingly, they're doing, very simplistic stuff. Getting the right people on the job, making sure that there are no vacancies in posts, that there should be people that are working there, making sure that the professional culture is the norm in the institution and in the department. Secondly, the issues of performance management is done in a manner that is very clear and to the extent that the consequences for any performance, good or bad, is clearly defined. So that some of the issues that we are highlighting as not necessarily prevalent in those departments, that we have seen results that have not been as good as we
Which departments have done well?
You're asking 117.
Yeah, which ones? You can choose.
One cannot name all of them, but if I can just mention, for instance, at a national level, at the national level, it's basically the public entities that have made the bulk of that number.
Okay.
In terms of departments, it's only very, very few, basically.
Yeah.
Like public service.
And administration.
No, not that one.
Okay.
Public enterprises.
Okay.
And gladly, the Public Service Commission has come on board this time around, which should be expected because they're an exemplary institution in terms of driving the culture of human resources within government.
Take us to the worst one, the worst institution. You looked at, out of the 500 odd, you looked at and you said, this must qualify as the worst institution in terms of all of the elements that audit is looking for.
What we're picking up in terms of the worst performing institutions are those institutions that have got a broader responsibility in terms of the national mandate. Institutions, for instance, like the departments of health, education, public works, that have got a much more wider responsibility. And for those, we are saying, yes, they may be performing not necessarily as well as they should be, but the facilities and the structures and resources to manage the demands of that job must equate those demands of those jobs. Yeah.
All right.
So that's why you find that most of the disclaimers are sitting in those departments. Yeah.
Public works, health, and education.
Yes, those big departments.
Let's leave it at that. Thank you very much. Terence Nombembe is the Auditor General joining us here on Morning Live. If you'd like to tweet about this conversation, you can reach us at Mbuli Vuyo at Leanne Manners.